All right, everybody. Reggie Edwards from the Front Row Report. We're in Indianapolis, Indiana, currently at McDonald's. I'm joined by Mattie from For Today, man. Thank you for taking time tonight. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. Caught up with you on Warped Tour this last year and then 2 years before that. So this will be my fourth or fifth For Today show.
That's awesome.
Super pumped.
Thank you, man.
You guys are out with Motionless in White right now and Iced on Kills. This is kind of an in-between show, warm-up show for you.
Yeah.
How's the tour been? Because musically fairly similar, but obviously different viewpoints and all that stuff. But I think it's very cool that this tour has come together the way it has.
Yeah, I mean, Motionless in White have been friends of ours for years. We took those guys out on one of our headliners like 5 years ago, and we've done a number of tours together. In between then, I think we've done 2 Warped Tours together, and now we're out with them. And so it's not like everybody had their minds blown that Florida was going on tour with Motionless in White, and we were like, why? Those guys have been friends of ours for a long time. I mean, obviously we disagree on some, fundamental things, but that's no reason to like not respect a person or not support or encourage them. So we love those guys and are excited to just get to hang out with them.
It's 2 bands that I love, so it's cool to see that. Obviously, Motionless isn't here tonight, but it's a cool tour. I've seen Motionless a couple times. Like you mentioned, you guys are friends. Obviously, it makes the tour go along a lot better and kind of a lot quicker when you're already friends with the guys and you get along. Because obviously, you're not always going to get along with the guys you're on tour with.
Right.
So, but you guys are out supporting Fight the Silence. Came out last year, actually a little over a year ago now. A little bit different. There's a lot more singing on it, clean vocals, than there are on previous records. What was it like putting this record together? Because it's a great concept, Fight the Silence, a lot of human trafficking going on. What does that mean to you, Fight the Silence?
Well, really, I guess the phrase "Fight the Silence" is something that goes a lot deeper than just the issue of human trafficking. Really, it's I think that people with a platform, whether you play in a band or you're a famous actor or even if you're just a dude with a Twitter, in some way you have a sphere of influence, and and it's so easy to overlook the responsibility that comes with that. But in reality, I think, and because of that, I think a lot of people tend to stand for nothing. They have people's attention and they're doing nothing with it, and the world is no better because of it. And so the whole idea behind the phrase, really, Fight the Silence, is to take it a step further and to say, if I'm going to be given a platform, even if it's just to my small group of friends, I want to help make their lives better. I want to help make their world better. And so when we sang Fight the Silence, that song was kind of specifically about the issue of human trafficking, but really that phrase, I think, runs a lot deeper than that, and calls people to whatever the cause is, it's in their heart, whatever is true or right or excellent or praiseworthy, that they shouldn't ignore those things, and they should share those things with the people who are around them.
I mean, obviously, the message is always something that's very strong in For Today's music. A lot of bands, it's just music and lyrics or something to just kind of fill the void, to make it sound better. But For Today, regardless of the album, whether it's back in the day with Portraits or Fight the Silence or In Between with Immortals, the message has always been strong. What makes a good song, makes good music?
Well, I mean, I guess beyond just the sort of basic fundamentals of what make a good song, that the instruments would be in tune with each other and they'd be in a key that's appealing to people. I think really more than anything, it's authenticity, which is something that I think is being lost in a big way. That there's a lot of people who, because of stuff like auto-tune and just the trends that are going on in music right now, a lot of times you can't tell, you can't hear authenticity, you can't hear the passion in a person's voice, and sometimes it's the imperfections that make a singer really great. When I think about some of the Ed Sheeran or Adele or Sam Smith, some of the more well-respected singers of our generation now, they're people who who aren't afraid to go out of key a little bit, and who aren't afraid to let their voice squeak, and who aren't afraid to sing with their whole heart, even if it means that it's a little bit less perfect. Because really, I think what people want to hear is something authentic, and it's a tragically rare thing. And that's been the thing that we've been dealing with. We're writing now, and that's been a thing that we've discussed a number of times. Is even if it's not the most polished album that we put out, let's put our whole hearts into this one, and instead of worrying about what is going to sell records or what kids want to hear or what's going to get people's attention, we just want to write what's in our hearts.
You touched on kids a little bit ago. Obviously, you guys play Warped Tour a lot. You played it twice in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
The younger generation makes up a big portion of For Today's fan base.
Yeah.
And one thing that I love is that you don't stray away from your faith at all. In fact, you're one of the more blunt bands out there as far as faith goes. And you're not afraid to, talk about your faith, whether it be on a tour with Christian bands or on a Warped Tour. How important is it to be upfront and honest with your faith, especially when there's such a young generation that are fans? Because they always, I grew up in the church, and one of the things that we always said was, the younger generation is obviously going to be the future, and you reach a certain age, and your mind is just made up on what you're going to believe. So how important is that with the younger generation?
It's vital. It's of life or death importance. And even beyond trying to reach the generation, I have to just be true to who I am and who God's made me, And if I'm going to step up on stage and pretend like I'm a rock star, and then the rest of the time pretend like I'm a man of God, I'm going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to have one face when I'm on stage and another face when I'm off. And I think that's ridiculous. And I'm made up, man. I want to follow Jesus till the day that I die. And so, for me to step up on stage and to represent myself in any other way than as a follower of Christ, I think that would be an unauthentic and hypocritical thing to do.
I just saw on your Facebook a couple of hours ago, you've got a preaching gig coming up. I'm not sure when it was I saw, but you do speaking engagements as well. Was that something you were doing before you became a musician and became a singer, or was that something that you, after you became a musician, joined For Today, you're like, I want to maybe do some speaking engagements?
They kind of came about pretty simultaneously. As I joined For Today, I started meeting people and sharing my heart with them, and they said, hey, I want you to come to my church. I want you to come to my school and do the same thing. And so, it wasn't, I still don't know that I'm called to be a preacher. I just know that sometimes people invite me to preach, and I have things to say. So, we'll see where that's at in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. But right now, I just the places that I go are places I believe in, and if I'm going to speak somewhere, I want to speak at a place with people that I believe in, and people who are a part of a ministry that I can really get behind. And so, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to kind of get with family, whether it's in Minnesota, where I'm going to be in a couple of days, or down in Alabama or out of California, wherever, to just get with family and kind of help them do what God has called them to do.
One thing I always love to ask when I speak with bands of a Christian faith is if you were to encounter a fellow believer or somebody who maybe is struggling with their faith, or who has just completely lost their faith altogether, whether it be from hard times or they just woke up one day and figured this isn't real anymore. Mm-hmm. What would be your best advice to them if they were questioning or wanted to come back to it but weren't sure how to do it, or if they even wanted to?
My advice would be don't come back unless you're willing to give it all. The reason that it probably wasn't desirable and probably didn't work the first time is because you tried to follow Christ on your terms. You tried to worship Him when it was convenient, and study the Word when it made sense, or receive the Word when it made sense to you, or only fellowship with Christians that you have stuff in common with, and like the kind of music you like, and wear the kind of clothes you wear. But we need to be people who say, I'm all in, no matter what it takes and where it leads me, what I have to do or where I have to go. I'm going to follow Christ. I'm going to get as close to Him as I possibly can. For me, that's meant moving around the country multiple times and getting connected to people who are totally the opposite of me. People who listen to country music and are 50 years older than I am. But those are the people that I'm running with and people that I call friends. And so there's a desperation in me to know Christ better daily that has moved me to do some wild things. And if I would have been concerned with what I was comfortable with, if I'd have been concerned with preserving my way of life, I never would have made it, man. And so my advice to those people would be, well, you need to count the cost. You can find Jesus and the glory and the goodness and the love and the freedom and the passion and the peace that come with that. But it's not going to happen by sort of timidly, asking Him to come and save you from hell. It's going to come by desperately and passionately pursuing Him, no matter what the cost.
You mentioned that you guys are writing. And I've read a couple things where you mentioned that you're working on the next album. Mm-hmm. Where are things at with the next album? How are things looking right now?
I guess we're going to be going into the studio sometime in the next few months. Okay. We've just got a couple sort of outlines of songs done at this point. Nothing real sort of crazy. Nothing really set in stone at this point. I don't have any lyrics written. We don't have any any album titles or a release date or anything like that.
Right.
We're just kind of getting together and sharing ideas and seeing what we can build right now.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking time tonight. And looking forward to the show again.
Thank you.
It's going to be awesome, man. Have a great show tonight.
Absolutely, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
I like that.